She said that crazy pillow, that one that like snakes around. Yeah, she said that's our goal. She said that's like, you can burn down my house, but I'm taking that pillow with me.
Yeah, she got some kind. She didn't get that one. She said, I don't know. She got some. She likes stuff.
Good.
Hey, Dave.
Hey, Paula.
Good.
Oh, look at me. Good boy. Got the crayon?
Just need a pen or pencil. Does everybody have something to write with?
I got a pen.
What are we doing? I'm going to tell you. Just a few minutes. I've got some extra.
Yeah.
There's no whole blank.
Maybe not.
Yeah.
I feel out of my heart when I think this done.
Y'all need something to write with?
I have, you guys are good.
Well, I got a Darcy.
Yes.
I mean, I know it's gonna snow.
Yeah, oh yeah, it'll be like
Tuesdays and Thursdays, so I don't have anything to like. I don't
I think
my baby's in my car right now. Someone read it.
Christmas?
Right before I left. And so they told me my car.
Cheryl, I can see Cheryl.
Just drove back to
I didn't mean to take place.
Are you? Where's that
so hard that she was in the car. You know,
Wow.
No, we're not calling.
so
Yeah,
we're
post
trying
it
to
on Facebook. They can
Did you?
I mean, that'll be
Yes.
good. Or,
Does she have insurance?
yeah, she did.
Oh, well, that's good.
But, like, I
That's
think I'm
unusual.
free next Saturday.
Like this Saturday?
Like
No,
the
this,
next
no, this Saturday's not.
I think it's like February
Yeah, Saturday, February 3rd, and I'll be laid up for a while.
Okay.
So,
Yeah.
Okay, I knew it was gonna be low tonight, and I know the ladies in the kitchen will be here in a minute, but we're gonna go ahead and get started. Okay, so we talked last week, about lady wisdom. We went over several characteristics of lady wisdom. And tonight we're gonna talk about lady folly. We'll still talk about lady wisdom some, but what you're gonna do with your doll, your person, I told Michelle I typed in outline of a woman's figure and you get all kinds of stuff. I was like, no, none of that's gonna work, you know. So this is a woman, okay? So on the left, you're gonna either one you want to, Lady Folly on one side and Lady Wisdom on the other, okay? And as we go through and talk about this, I want you to write down at different points, you know, her eyes, you know, thinking, or her mouth, or whatever you learn about each one or the other, okay? And so then when we get to the end, we're going to kind of compare, you know, who we want to be, what choice we're going to make. So this is just kind of something for you to write them down on, okay? Oh, mine doesn't work. Oh, yeah, I was afraid. Some of them like these. So that's your little note-taking figure of a lady, okay? All right. So we looked last week as the father exhorting his son to pursue lady wisdom. Okay. He also now is going to warn us about another woman, and that is Lady Folly. All right. Let me just read you what she says here. One whose behavior and words stand in direct opposition to the first woman we've met. This adulterous woman is folly personified. And in Proverbs 9, and we're going to read that in a few minutes, it's going to just show us exactly. All right, so using the analogy of sexual immorality and adultery, the father paints a compelling picture for his son, showing what awaits those who give in to the temptation of choosing the path of folly. Are these helpful passages for considering the dangers of sexual immorality? Certainly so. But they do far more than that when we're also viewed metaphorically, pointing us to the adulterous nature of all sin. Okay? So even though you're going to make the references to, for the son, for adult being an adulterer, it's going to apply to all of us for when we go against God. Okay? All right, so why do you think why do you think adultery, spiritual adultery, is a good title, is a good phrase to use for sin and lady folly? What does adultery imply? And how would we describe that?
Cheating.
Spiritually. What?
Cheating.
Cheating, okay. How do we apply that to our spiritual life?
Cheating, I guess, so
Who are we cheating on?
God.
Okay. Cheating on God.
Lack of trust.
Lack of trust.
You're making a deliberate choice to sin.
Okay. Making a deliberate choice. You have chosen, and that's what we're looking at here, and that's going to be the last slide when we get to is what are you going to choose? Because it's our choice. God's given us that choice. Okay, so we're making a deliberate choice. What else?
I think it carries the idea of the betrayal and the hurt. I think he was trying to make us understand how he feels about us.
Right.
He loves us like that.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. Because all of us have known someone who has been betrayed, or maybe you've been betrayed or been hurt. What that feels like. Okay. All right. So let's look at some verses here. So we're going to read a lot in Proverbs tonight, and as we do, like I said, you've got your lady there to write down things that describe how it describes her. Okay, so let's go to Proverbs chapter 2, and somebody read 16 through 19. Like I said, we're going to do lots of reading, so be there and be ready.
Wisdom will save you from the immoral woman, from the seductive words of the promiscuous woman. She has abandoned her husband and ignores the covenant she made before God. Entering her house leads to death if it is the road to the grave. The man who visits her is doomed. He will never reach the path.
Okay, thank you. All right, so
It's right here.
yeah, so when we learn this one, calls her the forbidden woman. Okay, forbidden woman. Here's your doll. Where on one side you're writing characteristics of Lady Folly and one side Lady Wisdom, according to, kind of what part of the body we're talking about, okay? All right, so we're in Proverbs 2, the forbidden woman, okay? She has flattering talk. What does that say about her? Her mouth, okay, is that a bad thing? Could be, okay, and it is in this, I think the version that you read said seductive words, okay, abandons the companion of her youth, okay, and she's broken the covenant with God, and her house sinks down to death. That's what we learn about her in this passage, okay, so she's called the forbidden woman or the wayward woman. She has flattering talk, which she's seducing, and here we're looking at it in the negative light there. And she abandons the partner of her youth. She's an adulteress, okay? And she breaks her covenant with God in doing that. And her house sinks down to death, okay? So let's continue on and let's look at Proverbs 5. Someone will read 1 through 6. Let's see what this tells us about her.
My son, pay attention to my wisdom. Turn your ear to my words of insight, that you may maintain discretion. Your lips may the lips of the adulterous woman drip honey, and her speech is smoother than oil. But in the end she is bitter as gall, sharp as a double sword. Her feet go down to death. Her steps lead straight to the grave. She gives no thought to the way of life. Her paths wander aimlessly, but she does not know it.
Okay, all right, so several more things we learn about her. Calls her the adulteress here. That's the name she's given here. Her mouth, or let's say her lips, drip honey or smoother than oil. What is that saying about them? What is that saying about her words in her mouth?
She's gonna tell you what you wanna hear.
She's going to tell you what you want to hear. She can lure you in with her words. It's going to be things that are sweet to you, that you want to hear, that you're going to get lured in by. Okay? All right? Then it says that in the end it's bitter as gall.
What's that?
What is gall? And why is it,
Vinegar kind of thing,
do what now?
like a vinegar,
Yeah, I would think it would, I mean, I've never,
that's what I've heard.
NLT says poison,
poison.
but I don't know.
Okay? It's not good, and it tastes bad. And yeah, if you ever vinegar, I mean, that's not a good taste to your mouth. Okay? It's poison.
It also
Alright.
says it's a state of irritation.
State of
That's another
irritation.
definition of
Sharp is a double-edged sword. So, again, not good. And death ends in death in the grave. Okay, that's where she's going to take you. Okay, through all this way. This is her way of doing that. Okay? All right, so let's look at Proverbs 7, 1 through 27. This is a long one, so everybody turn there. We're going to read this whole chapter. I think it's going to go better if we just read it. So who's ready and up to reading a whole chapter for us?
I'll do it.
Okay, Michelle?
My son, keep my words and store up my commands within you. Keep my commands and you will live. Guard my teachings as the apple of your eye. Bind them on your fingers. Write them on the tablet of your heart. Say to wisdom, you are my sister, and to insight, you are my relative. They will keep you from the adulterous woman, from the wayward woman with her seductive words. At the window of my house I looked down through the lattice. I saw among the simple. I noticed among the young men a youth who had no sense. He was going down to the street near her corner, walking along in the direction of her house. At twilight, as the day was fading, as the dark of night set in. Then out came a woman to meet him, dressed like a prostitute and with crafty intent. She is unruly and defiant. Her feet never stay at home. Now in the street, now in the squares, at every corner she lurks. She took hold of him and kissed him, and with a brazen face she said, Today I fulfilled my vows, and I have food from my fellowship offering at home. So I came out to meet you. I looked for you and have found you. I had covered my bed with colored linens from Egypt. I had perfumed my bed with myrrh, aloes, and cinnamon. Come, let's drink deeply of love till morning. Let's enjoy ourselves with love. My husband is not at home. He is gone on a long journey. He took his purse filled with money and will not be home till full moon. With persuasive words she led him astray. She seduced him with her smooth talk. All at once he followed her like an ox going to the slaughter, like a deer stepping into a noose, till an arrow pierces his liver, like a bird darting into a snare, little knowing it will cost him his life. Now then, my sons, listen to me. Pay attention to what I say. Do not let your heart turn to her ways or stray into her past. Many are the victims she has brought down. Her slain are a mighty throng. Her house is a highway to the grave, leading down to the chambers of death.
Okay, so let's start back at the beginning of this chapter. The father's talking to the son, and what's he telling him in those first few verses? Who's he telling him to look for? Lady Folly or Lady Wisdom?
More wisdom was.
Lady Wisdom, okay? He says, store up my commands within you and keep my commands. Guard my teachings. Put them on your finger. In other words, have my word everywhere around you where it comes to you so that you know when she comes up to you how to react. You know, I know you probably told your kids this, and I remember being told this, think about what you're gonna do before you get in the situation. Because when you get in the situation, that's when we can make a bad choice many times if we've never decided how we're gonna do. So, he's telling him, keep my words here. Do this, be prepared, because she is going to come, right? Okay, so from this, what do we learn about Lady Folly? They call her, again, an adulteress, call her a wayward wife, okay? She has seductive words. Michelle read those to us through there, where she's telling him, come on in, and do what I want, and this is going to be good for you, okay? She's dressed as a prostitute with crafty intent, okay? So she knows, she's crafting what she's going to say, and she knows exactly what she's doing and what to say, okay? She's loud and defiant. Angie, and we're using this, one side is Lady Folly, one side is Lady Wisdom, and writing down characteristics that fit with the part of the body that, and it doesn't have to be just exactly what we've read. It's just as you think of them. We're going to compare that at the end. Her feet never stay at home. Okay, what does that imply?
Her feet.
She gets around. She gets around. She is the adulteress, and she's dressed like a prostitute, so she doesn't stay at home. Okay? And it's the highway to the grave or the chambers of death. Okay, so those are some things that we learn about her from that passage. Right now, in verses 10 through 27 of that one that Michelle read to us, when they really start talking about her, here is her tactics. Okay, these are her tactics that she uses. So if you wanted to be this Lady Folly, here's how you do it. Okay? All right, one, she lies in wait. Okay, we saw that. Where was she? Verses 10 through the end of the chapter.
In the street, in the squares, and in every corner.
Right. So she knew right where to be, and she was always there, right? And if we're looking to find trouble, we can find it, can't we? It's always there. It may be around that corner or right in front of you, but it's always there. She lies in wait. She's loud. Okay? So she's going to get her point across. She's going to say what she means, and she's going to be loud in that. She's not going to be a meek, quiet, okay? She seems to be everywhere. We've kind of already said that one. She's bold, okay? Look back on those verses 10 through 27, and what would you say would characterize her as being bold?
She lured him. She was using her beauty and everything she had to lure him in.
Right.
Instead of the other way around.
Yes, exactly. And verse 13 says, she took hold of him and kissed him with a brazen face. So that's bold. We would say that is bold. Okay? All right? She promises luxury. She talked about her colored linens from Egypt, perfumed bed. She promises this is going to be luxurious and nice. And then she promised secrecy. No consequences. We hear that from sin, don't we?
Mm-hmm.
Not going to hurt anybody but you. It's not even going to hurt you. But you won't. No. Nobody's going to know. It's all secret. Okay, so those are the tactics that she really uses. All right, let's go back to one more passage, and then we'll talk more about Our Lady. Chapter 9, if someone would read 13 through 18.
Folly is a rowdy woman. She is gullible and knows nothing. She sits by the doorway of her house on the highest point of the city, calling to those who pass by, go straight ahead on their path. Whoever is inexperienced enters to the one who lacks sense, she said. Stolen water is sweet, and bread secretly is tasty. But he doesn't know that the departed spirits are there. Her guests are in the depths of sheep.
Okay, all right, so similar to what we've already been reading, calls her the woman of folly. Actually, this is actually the first time that he calls her out as the woman of folly. She's loud, again, and undisciplined, without knowledge. She calls out, she entices, him. And again, if she gets him, it's going to take him to the grave. Okay? All right? So I should have learned a lot of things about our woman of folly here. Okay, go back to chapter 7 and look at the metaphors used in verses 22 and 23. What were the three metaphors that they used there about?
He went after her as an ox goes to the slaughter.
Okay, so an ox to the slaughter is one.
Deer stepping into a noose.
A deer stepping into a noose, and a bird darting into a snare. Okay, so what do all those things tell about you? What about the ox, the deer, and the bird? Did they know what they were doing?
Well, innocent creatures, I guess.
Okay, innocence, yeah, I would think so. Ox going to slaughter has no idea what's fixing to come.
Right.
Has no idea. A deer that steps into a noose, didn't see it, wouldn't have stepped in it, didn't know what's going to happen there. Or the bird darting into a snare, doesn't know. Innocent, doesn't know. No knowledge of the danger that lies ahead, right? So that's what the Father's describing, that her persuasive words, and all at once he followed her, it's just like that. You follow this, but you don't have any idea the consequence and what's going to come from that. Okay? Yeah. All right. Let's look at this one right here. Proverbs 5. Somebody get 12 through 14, and then somebody 1 through 29 through 30. Chapter 1, 29 through 30 is the word of Lady Wisdom, and then 5 through 12, 12 through 14 is going to be the Lady Folly. Who's got Proverbs 1, 29 through 30?
Person hated husband chose not to fear the Lord. They reject my advice. They know when I correct.
Okay. All right. Then somebody 5, 12 through 14.
You will say, how I hated discipline, how my heart spurned correction. I would not obey my teachers or turn my ear to my instructors, and I was soon in serious trouble in the assembly of God's people.
Okay. Now, what's some similarities you see, or what's some differences? And then the question here is, how is adultery an accurate metaphor for choosing folly over wisdom? Kind of said that at the beginning, but it's a broken covenant with God, and we're choosing sin over God. That's what she's telling us here, what he's telling us here. All right, and then 7, we've already done, I got ahead of myself, that one. Okay, let's go to James. This is a passage in the New Testament, and James 1:13 through 15 says, when tempted, no one should say, God is tempting me. For God cannot be tempted by evil, nor does he tempt anyone. But each one is tempted when by his own evil desires he is dragged away and enticed. Then after desire has conceived, it gives birth to sin, and sin, when it is full grown, gives birth to death. Okay, so how is that passage similar to what we've read about that this woman of folly does? What's kind of the progression here that verse is telling us?
She tempts them, she reels them in, and then ends in death.
Right, exactly. Just exactly what he told us she did, God's not tempting them, she's tempting. It's your desire, you make the choice. She reels them in, like you said, and then it's death. Okay? All right? So our own desire, we have that choice, and we talked about that last week. God let us choose, and that's the choice that we can make. What does this teach us about our own responsibility for our sins?
Be careful.
You have to be careful. It's not God. I'm not going to blame God, because he's not going to tempt us. It is the devil.
Use wisdom.
You have to use wisdom, and it's our choice, right? We're the ones to blame because, as that passage in James says, our own desire. You know, we're all selfish at heart, and we have to fight that and work on that. You know, okay? It's not someone else. We can't say, you know, somebody else made me do it, or you know, we can go back to Adam and Eve, and they blamed each other, right? And then they blamed God. Okay, so it's in our nature to do that. That's something we've got to know, that it's really our choice, and we've got to take responsibility for that and own that. All right, let's look at Matthew 4, 1 through 11. This is when Jesus was tempted by the devil, okay? And we won't read all that passage because I think we've read it and everybody kind of knows what it is there. But many times in Scripture, the people of God are successfully tempted through flattering and seductive speech. Again, Adam and Eve, like we talked about. But here, how does Jesus respond when he's tempted by the words of Satan? Each time he's tempted, what does he do? Verse 4, verse 7, verse 10. Scripture, okay? All right? He quotes Scripture. So what does that tell us? We've got to at least know his word. Maybe not to the point of quoting it word for word, if you're like me and you're not very good at memorizing, but knowing it enough that we can recall it, right? And we can know what the intent and know what it means there, okay? All right, and then here's a couple of questions for us to think about, because like I said, if we don't apply this to us and leave with something, then really just wasted an hour. And so one question she asked is, how quickly do you call to mind true words when false words attempt to entice you? You know, how quickly do we come to mind what God is saying to us rather than this false words that's coming to us? You know, I think that's something for each of us to think about, because if we don't recall those very quickly, then that's probably something we want to work on. Because we should at least have, you know, like, who was it last week said it's like the little, you know, the devil in the here, you know, at least this little conscience over here ought to be going, something's not right here, you know. And if you have a conscience that just won't go away, that's a good thing, you know, that's a good thing. If it kind of gnaws at you there, okay? All right, and then here's something we can answer out loud so that we can help each other. What regular practices might help you grow in this ability to come to mind these true words, come to mind God's words? What are some practices? What are some ways you do that? What are some practical things we can do? All right, obviously read the Bible, okay? Pray.
I write Bible verses like on sticky notes and put them around my room or like on my to try to help me memorize.
Right. Yes, that's a great idea. You know, put them on sticky notes. Put them on. Like to put them on index cards and have them at my work sitting there. You know, and it may take me 6 weeks to memorize that one verse, but it's there for me to see. Okay. What else? What are some other things you do to help?
I'm currently like, but talking all about like the devil's eye, right? The devil's eye.
Okay. That's good. That's really good. Somebody else.
I think using the word to combat our fears and our temptations. You know, I've always had all this lung issues, so when COVID hit, I freaked out, and I literally did not leave the house ever. But I read Psalm 91 over, and I read it every day over and over. When I start getting nervous, I begin, and that helped me get through the whole year of COVID thing that we all went through. But just finding the verse that fits your situation and that you can rely on and read and memorize, like you said.
Yeah, and then just saturate yourself with it. Meditate on it. Make it there where every time you turn around, you know, because we've all got at least one thing, and some of us have more than one thing that's really our struggle. And so we all should know that. I mean, I think we all would. If we'd be honest with ourselves, you know what yours is. Find those verses. get those up here and get those out in front of you, you know, and keep them there. If you know that you have a struggle with worry, or you know you have a struggle with this, find those verses and get them there, keep them in front of you, so that when you're tempted with something, those true words come to your mind, you know, and that's what you hear. Anybody else?
I think the people you're around, like these are a son listening to his father,
Right.
but just, you know, words of wisdom from having people in your life that will speak to you those words.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's hard to see it yourself.
Yes, I agree so much. And having those people that'll tell you the truth, you know, that'll speak to you what you need to hear, not what you want to hear necessarily. And we've all got those people too that will call and say, okay, today I'm really struggling with this. And they'll listen, and then they'll say what you need to hear, you know. And that's why you call them. That's why you have them, because they'll tell you what you need to hear. So yeah, I think the people you surround yourself with is a huge thing.
Tonight, I was supposed to bring Georgia fish, and she didn't like Main City, so she wanted to go home.
Okay, yeah.
And I'm like, get here, take her home.
All right. So
But
yeah,
I kept a temper up.
so yeah, I think, you know, anything like that that we can do that can just help us and with the challenges that we face, and we all have them. If you think nobody else struggles with this, you're wrong. You're so wrong. You know, one day I was talking to a lady older than me, and she was like, and she was going through something, and we were talking, and we were sitting out in the lobby. It was after services one day, and I said, what do you see when you look in there? She goes, I see a whole room of people who've all got it together, and everything's going well for them. And I said, that's not the case. I said, every one of them in there is messed up. Every one of them there's got something that they're going through, and none of them in there have it all together. And I said, that's the first thing you got to realize, because she was trying to, I've always got it all together and this, and she wasn't right then. And she couldn't face the fact that everybody else in there is perfect. She didn't use the word perfect, but I'm like, no, if we'll realize that everybody's struggling with what you're struggling with in some way or form or fashion. Okay, and that helps us as well.
I've always said, in this day and age, social media is a thing.
Yeah.
Because people post on their stuff they've done, and to me, all they're asking for is a pat on the back. When they do that, they might think everything is great, or they tell you about how wonderful their husband or their wife is. And I'm like, who are you trying to convince, me or yourself? You know?
Yeah.
Because nobody's perfect, you know, and if you get caught up in that, it can make you feel like you are inferior to everything.
Absolutely.
Careful.
Absolutely. And they talked about that in the video. You know, they talked about social media a lot in the very first video that we watched, and about how it portrays everybody else as having a perfect life and everything's going great, you know, and that's just not the way it is. Because you don't get on there and post, I had this bad day today, I fought with so-and-so, and I thought, you know, nobody goes on there and does that, you know. But that's really what happened that day. Yeah, that's very true. Okay? All right, so then, here's your little lady, okay? So what do we learn, what did you come up with as you were describing your lady wisdom and lady folly? Let's just start at the top. What are some things you said about her head, her eyes, her face, her ears, her mouth? Let's start with lady wisdom. And we didn't say a lot today about lady wisdom. Let's do lady folly, okay? Because lady wisdom we really talked about last week, and then we can go back to that. So lady folly, what you got on her from here up? A brazen face, okay.
Seductive words.
Seductive words.
That
lure. Lure, okay. Where's that lure?
Ignorant and doesn't know it.
Ignorant and doesn't know it, good.
Promises, secret.
Secrecy.
Crafty.
crafty,
Tempting,
do what?
tempting,
Tempting. Even if you don't have it written down, what are some things that Lady Folly that would go up there? How do you see her?
Big mouth, loud.
A big mouth, loud, okay?
Strictly
Yeah,
Loose.
loose,
Yellows.
okay, yeah. All right, keep going. And what else did you say about
flattering talk,
flattering talk? Wandering feet.
Lays in wait for you.
Lays in wait for you.
unruly,
Unruly, undisciplined. Breaks covenant,
enticing,
enticing. Doesn't care who she hurts. No, it's all about her. And that, her seduction. Okay. Anything else?
Death.
Death. Okay.
I think that's short term, only looking at what's right now. Nothing beyond what's immediate.
What's right in front of her, what's right then. Yeah,
But she's moving on to the next thing.
That's right.
She's moving on.
that's right. Okay. What else? Can you think of anything else? Okay, so even though we talked about Lady Wisdom last week, what would you say about her? And we can go back and we can look if we need to.
Nice.
Chapter 2, a lot about her, and chapter 3. What would you just say, though, if you were looking at this? How would you describe her?
The opposite.
The opposite. That's what you could
Yeah.
just put, the opposite, really, right? Okay, the opposite.
probably godly, follows,
Okay,
God,
godly. Her speech is going to be what? Knowledgeable, wholesome. It's going to be good. It's going to be encouraging and uplifting. And genuine. She's going to be faithful.
has good advice,
She's going to have good advice.
peace,
Peace. Yeah, there wasn't any peace with Lady Folly, was there?
No.
I mean, being around that, no. Lady Wisdom's going to be peace.
Since she's more precious than rubies.
She is more precious than rubies.
That's good. Leads to life.
Okay, steps of good that lead to life, right? Safety.
Mm-hmm.
She's of great value. As we said, more precious than rubies. She's going to watch over you and she's going to show you the path of life. Talk about that. We read the verse 9 that says, call wisdom your sister. Remember that?
will be your sister and closest friend.
Yeah. Okay. So, because what does that entail, or what comes to mind when you think you're going to call her your sister? You trust. Yeah. Somebody that has your best interest.
Oh, it's not a good.
They're not all sisters, maybe, but look, even just think of us sisters in Christ in here. If you call them your sister, you do trust them. They have your good. They're looking out for your good, your best interest. They want what's best for you. They're going to give. They're on the same team. They're going to give you wise advice instead of pointing you in a bad direction. Okay, that's what Lady Wisdom is going to do.
They'll be kind.
Do what?
They're gonna be kind.
They're going to be kind.
Gentle.
She's going to be kind and gentle, and she's going to listen. Anything else?
there's some kind of tie that binds you together with your sister. It can't be in God, you're tied together. Because when you're birth sisters, you have to.
Right.
Like your sister at my mom today. Prayer.
Okay, we read this verse earlier, but if we look back at chapter 9 and verse 13, it said, the woman of folly is loud, she's undisciplined and without knowledge. Okay, that alone right there is enough to say, don't want to be her, you know? Okay, so if you take the woman of Lady Wisdom and Lady Folly, and you've got them there side by side, what's the obvious conclusion that you should draw from that? Go with Lady Wisdom, okay? Yeah, you know, wisdom is the path we should choose, you know. And think of a time maybe in your past that you pursued the path of folly instead of the path of wisdom. You know, we've all done that. And where did it lead? Not good, right? Okay. And it, you know, we misplaced where we wanted our emotions and where we wanted our feelings to go to, you know, in making that choice. All right, and it's a choice. And so we can choose, and we'll have to choose. It's not something you just do one thing and say, oh, I'm always choosing Lady Wisdom. I got it now. You know, but it's a choice that we make every day, okay, that we have to do that. So how do we get wisdom? What? Study. And Bible tells us that we ask and God will provide wisdom. And wisdom's probably something that I know since we started studying this, I prayed for more, you know, and it's something we should pray for more, specifically in certain situations, and then maybe just give me wisdom today, whenever I need it, that I don't know what's coming up, you know. And he will give us wisdom if we're seeking after him. Okay? All right? So, in wrapping this up, somebody tell me in a couple of sentences how you would describe or how you would say we should seek Lady Wisdom. What about her? Or just describe her in like a couple of sentences. Because this is who we want to go after, is wisdom.
She's kind.
She is kind.
She makes godly choices.
Okay, she makes godly choices. Good.
Kind of like deserve, you know, Lady Folly is going to offer you the best up front. So, you know, it's just like, think about, you don't have to make a choice like right then usually. Just think about it. And Lady Folly, she just offers, like, after all that, like, there's nothing good that comes out. You know, she just offers the best up front. That's exactly how sin is. You never see, like, the hurt or the STD or, you know, any of that up front. You know, this time it may not always look like the most appealing choice initially, but think through.
And I think Brittany said something, you know, good there too, to think about it. You know, it's like when you're checking out at Walmart and all of that gum and candy and all that stuff's right up there. You know, how tempting that is. But if we've come to Walmart after we've eaten and we're not hungry and we've got a list and all that, then we're more prepared to not give in to that. So it's kind of like, make the choice before it happens, but then take time to stop and think about, you know, what it is. And this is about any kind of sin. They use the sexual, you know, metaphors and all, but this is talking about just how sin is this way. Talks about her as an adulteress. That's what sin is. It's causing us to break our covenant. Okay? It's causing us to go down a path that we don't want to go down and the consequences that we don't want to have. You know? And it doesn't happen that you just wake up today and go, oh, I'm gonna commit adultery today, or I'm gonna steal today, or I'm gonna, do this. None of us, I doubt, have that happen. But it happens a little at a time, and before we know it, we're way over here, and we wonder how we got there. So it's a choice we make each day, it's the steps we take to make wise, godly choices. And take time to think, what would God want me to do here? What's the wise thing to do? And like Brittany said, it may not look like the most appealing, it may not look like the most fun, or it may not look like what everybody else is doing. But in the end, it's going to lead to life. Okay, somebody else. What is something that you learned through the study of this prologue, chapters 1 through 9? Or something that stuck out to you that you didn't realize, or maybe it brought back up to you?
Security and safety, protection by the Lord, and for being wise,
Yeah,
making wise choices.
yeah. The security, the protection, and the peace. About that a lot. From making wise choices, just the peace you have. Somebody else, something that stuck out to you.
Stop, pray, and read, and think about your decision. First you do something, and then let me take time to pray, study.
Study it, pray about it. Seek wise counsel. Surround yourself with people who have the same goals that you do, want what you want, and help you make wise choices.
Okay, well.
We're done. We're not on page. Okay, so then next week we'll watch the video on session 2, and then we keep going, and we're going to look at wisdom of our words, all in that. So, yeah, careful what you say between now and then. Okay, let's see, a couple of things coming up. The game night is next week, hopefully, see. And then we're also going to make the baskets for the widows, and we're going to add about 12 that are shut in right now to that list. We're going to have about 30 that we're going to make, so probably not as you're out and about this weekend, but next week, if you're as you're out and about, picking up some little things for that, we're going to do that I think it's the 12th maybe, right before Valentine's, and deliver those. So,
Okay.
yeah, we'll send something out about that, but I'm just going ahead and telling you so you kind of watch for things like that for them.
Do we need
No, you don't. Okay, so we'll finish a little early. You can visit, and we'll see you next week. And everybody
I don't have to worry.
stay warm and safe this week. And we hope for no snow.
Hope your power doesn't go out.
Hope your power doesn't go out.
Amen to that way, because my bed will go down.
Oh, I've heard those they show big things they got around, like I was
The
in
things
South,
are over here.
and I was over
Over here in the chair.
close to Harry's house. I was seeing just steaming, just steaming, and I'm thinking, that's what it looks like. It's not really even cold as it had been.
They had on the weather.com or whatever, or one of the weather things, probably showing me one night is the actual temperatures minus one. It was actual temperature, and I'm like, that's gonna be bad. if you lose
Well, I
power.
just say the national weather.
We were there.
Yeah, I've got a friend that he's posted all this grass and stuff.
I can't, it changes every time.
See, a Sunday, maybe.
Every time I look at it.
Yeah,
it
I think
changes.
yeah, a lot of it
Looks like it's gonna get worse
So look
now.
at this. This is the Weather Channel.
Oh,
Four.
yeah.
Four. And I'm like, Sunday night, four.
That's the 25th, that's this Sunday. But what it, but there's a lot.
4 degrees, 21 is the high, 4 degrees, and if you're covered with ice and snow, it's gonna feel a lot better. We get almond. Yeah, we got almond. We're too old to eat all those parts. That's right. That makes me happy. Yeah, I did too. I'm just worried about the heat. I got grandbabies, you know, across town. I don't want them to lose the heat. We do too, but they don't.
I don't think it starts to spring.
Oh, yeah. We don't have one.
But Jerry always wanted to get one of those Generacs, and I'm like, that's too expensive.
Well, that's what Robert says. I'm like, let's get a generator. And he said, okay, Michelle, what do you want to do with the generator? And I said, well, run the house. And he's like, no, it's not that easy. Like, to have a big one to run the house, like the utility people have to come, like it's got to be hooked up, like to run the whole house.
Yeah.
He said at best, we would have one in the garage outside that you could plug something in that might run the refrigerator and something else, you know, a few things. And he said, but it's not going to make the house like it's we have power. Like, you know, you're not going to go into every room and flip on the light, watch TVs. It's not that.
Right, unless you got one of the
Yes,
big generators.
yes.
Yeah,
We
you're
can't
not
afford
gonna
that,
get
yeah.
out of a
Yeah.
regular.
No.
And then again, you know, I've got the house up for sale, so I was like.
Oh, yeah, no kidding. Yeah.
And then my neighbors, I've got that generator out there, and I told him he could have it because he sell all the stuff for me.
Oh, that's nice.
And so he asked me yesterday, do you still have the generator? I'm like, yeah.
You can have it. Go ahead and take it.
But I'm coming to your house.
I tried to get my mother, she lives in Germantown, and my brother was with her, so she didn't have it.
Yeah.
And she has no.
Yeah.
Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
All she earns are these little loans that don't give off anything.
Yeah.
My mother's trying to get her to come up here, we'll come and get you.
Oh, I'll get.
No, I've gotta be at my, if something happens, I said, what is gonna happen? Like,
Yeah.
what's
Yeah,
gonna
well,
happen?
yeah.
Well, you know, your brother's here, and I said, well, he's welcome to come too. Yeah, but you know, he wants, okay, then that's on him. You know,
Right.
no,
He's on his
no,
own.
yeah, I said, Robert will come get you, you know. No, I better just stay here. I said, okay, mother, please go to the grocery store. Please go to the grocery store. She said, I will. I said, or send him.
Or get them delivered
Yeah.
or whatever,
I said,
yeah.
yeah. I said, or send him.
Yeah.
You know, she said, well, he works all day. I said, mother, send him.
I don't know.
He lives in your house. Send him.
I couldn't feel that.
Eat too. Well, apparently, they've had Abigail, she has picked up yeah, I didn't know it, you know, and
They said my friend, when she helps take care of him, but surgery is then he did so good. This is such sweet. His little twin turned the same yesterday. And it's so sweet.
Oh, that is so sweet.
So, and he had, had a front shirt.
He's like, I haven't seen you for a
And
while.
he was had to have a pacemaker put in today.
Oh, no.
And I said, he's not cheap. I said, well, you know what? I'm thinking that's hard for them. You know, maybe it's fire, maybe it won't, so, but it's there.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm thinking, see?
those are their last parts, they still have, the little valve that didn't close completely, you know, it's almost, but they say nothing to worry about. Will, or it's something, y'all know about, and I know it, like, that they might have, like, people that have strokes later, look back and they realize they had.
Yeah. Yeah, like my aunt.
Their little hole closed, the holes are closed, and their whole heart, and everything, the doctor, you know, they're going, then, but
I mean, that just is always so amazing. Is it? In here, I have a good shape. More.
yeah, it's just such a good.
They are all pretty good.
Yeah, they're starting to go to bed earlier, you know, like 7:30, and they'll get up like 2, like one time, then 5 o'clock, and then Jasmine says, "I want to eat all day," slept so much. And the twins have reflux, and so they can't up their milk quite as fast as they can with Daniel, because they'll just spit it up. But it's great, they're gaining weight. Rolling over and, you know, tell Daniel from the twins, but
Now, Daniel's the biggest.
Daniel's the bigger one. He's the one that's gonna have blonde hair, blue eyes. Others are gonna be brown eyed, dark hair.
Isn't that funny?
And they're gonna look just alike.
I've got another friend. Her daughter, the third greatest. And they are. I mean, one of them is just like her. Just like her dad. And they don't look that.
No, they're
It's real
different.
dark hair, real dark. Dark eyes. She's
For a little while, I thought they were all gonna look alike. So weird. Found that the twins are identical. And when we FaceTime with them, we'll look at them and go, okay, that one's Micah. And like, nope, that's Elijah. Shoot.
Aww.
Yeah. We're going next week. I haven't seen them since Christmas.
Oh, that's hard. But thank goodness for FaceTime, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, we're going next.
Tomorrow. I know, I can't either.
Today's Morgan's birthday, tomorrow's Chris's, and that's how I remember.
Oh, wow.